Hey parents, Carmine here with your video review of Sunset Overdrive. After my less than stellar introduction to Sunset Overdrive at E3 last year, I was reluctant to give this game a try. Fortunately, it surpassed my expectations. Sunset Overdrive puts the player in the shoes of a survivor of an energy drink-induced zombie-like apocalypse. It's a lighthearted game that focuses on fast-paced, twitchy combat and includes a good balance of mature and immature content. Violence is the most prominent factor in this game. Much of this game is spent in a constant state of simultaneous traversal and combat, so players will frequently see blood somewhere on the screen. The amount of blood varies greatly depending on the way the player chooses to approach combat. Ranged combat usually results in some blood, but it's often lost in the distance to the target and the multitude of bright lights and explosions that can and oftentimes do occur at any given moment. Blood can increase if the player attacks a popper, which is a specific enemy type known for exploding into orange goo, or if the player uses a heavy damage, explosion-less weapon. But overall, this never significantly increases the amount of blood on the screen. While the game did outwardly encourage ranged combat, its mechanics made melee combat a much faster and more efficient way of clearing out the large number of enemies that could sometimes flood the battlefield. And since melee combat resulted in the most blood by far, this significantly increased the amount of blood that I saw in the game overall. Normal melee hits result in a small amount of blood, but the extremely effective ground smash attack would cause almost all enemies to explode into a shower of blood. This was only compounded by the fact that enemies tended to group together, especially if they were attacking a wall or some other defensive structure. However, I must mention that when I say blood, I mean it very lightly. While the human enemies did bleed red blood, the OD popped into showers of bright orange overcharge. Overcharge is a sort of energy drink that caused the zombie apocalypse in the first place. It's blood in the sense that it's their primary bodily fluid, but in reality it's like popping an orange water balloon.
Up mission. Where's the figurehead?
While I never noticed gore in normal combat, there are a select few cutscenes where gore is unavoidable. The most obvious of these is one where a random character is decapitated by a new enemy type. However, this level of violence was rare. Sexuality and substance use are minor factors in this game, but overall not a huge issue. Aside from some crude humor, sexuality primarily comes into the character customization, which is surprisingly flexible. Players can choose from two different body types for each gender, one skinny and one somewhat sexualized. Everything else is not gender specific. Clothing, hairstyles, accessories, tattoos, even facial hair can be worn by both male and female characters. While players cannot ever go completely nude, they can wear some very small underwear. Drugs and alcohol in the traditional sense are not present in this game, but there are a few noteworthy substances to mention. The first and most obvious by far is overcharge. The entire game revolves around this stuff, and while it turns anyone who drinks it into a violent monster, the player will end up using it to create magical powers. Aside from that, one of the characters in the game refuses to believe in modern medicine, instead resorting to medieval forms of healing. In order to help him get through a simple cold, the player must cover his body in leeches and then down an entire bottle of cough medicine. While this is designed to be comical, it's ridiculously dangerous.
Defeat the motherfuckers in yon castle! Thou hast my name!
Mature language is a factor in this game, but the game makes it very clear that the language can be toggled off in the options menu. That being said, if the player doesn't toggle it off, many of the conversations will include various words that might not be appropriate to say in front of one's grandmother.
Get off me!
Sunset Overdrive includes mature content, but keeps this comical and cartoonish enough to not be too realistic. As a result of the content you see here and the overall tone of the game, we gave this game a recommended age of 16 years old. For the full written review, including the extra categories, log on to SideStoryGames.com.